Hi, I'm Ray Dubicki. Our previous presenters talked about multi-generational housing, micro-apartments, and how communities are changing to meet the needs of dynamic families. I'm a stay-at-home dad, and I'm going to talk about how my community changed the way my family lives. There's been a lot of articles and books about stay-at-home dads recently. Josh Lev sums them up well by saying, "Dads do it differently." Our family went from a 2,000 square foot home in suburban Maryland to a 1,000 square foot apartment in downtown Seattle. We moved to follow my wife's work, and I transitioned from a desk job to being a stay at home dad. We settled in a neighborhood called Ballard with breweries, Edith Macefield, and the Pacific Fishing Fleet. It is a walkable neighborhood with tons of amenities, the epitome of a live, work, play neighborhood. Since Richard Florida wrote his creative class book, Live, Work, Play has been a universal goal in planning. We've kind of had a complex, and it's shown up in cities as varied as Anchorage, Riverside, Bethesda Chevy Chase, Raleigh, Lawrenceville, Waconia, and Jewish Detroit. But I found that Live, Work, Play is not the whole community experience, and it's something I would not have seen had I not been a stay at home dad. Now, a caveat. I'm going to talk about gender, men versus women, but I need to put it out front that there is a greater difference between any two men or any two women than there is between men and women generally. Also, these icons suck. It makes me look like the unitard guy from the college basketball games. So for the purpose of this presentation, women will be super and men will be iron. Now to the live, work, play thing. Let's start with the first one. This is our gilded 5,000 square foot penthouse. When we make America great again, it'll be the apartment all of us own. Really, our home is a little bit more modest. At 1,000 square feet, it still has plenty of space for important things like crafts, Lego, and fort building. One of my first transitions as a stay-at-home dad was with food. I fell into the category of dads that was really good at breakfast, grilling, and preparing food for an army. But that's been subsumed by efficiency. Success now is measured by how few pots get dirty and how many leftovers get finished. Also, I failed at my share of Pinterest attempts. It's kind of narrowing, and it came somewhere else too, like thinning my toolbox. Being in an apartment means I don't need a ratchet set to repair a car. Giving away these tools has been strangely emasculating. Tools and workshops are manly. But now that my life and my work overlap completely, I don't get a separate tool room or a workshop or a glass garage like Cameron's dad from Ferris Bueller. Now this is my workbench, it's in the kitchen, and I get to preside over the happenings in the house. I have access to the kids if need be, but I can also let them play like kids do, although it normally looks like this. Of course, what is a house but a place for your stuff? And we carry around a smaller place for our stuff in a bag. This is the contents of my bag, built for moving kids. It doesn't have a whole lot of personal stuff for me. We do have a change of undies for everyone, as well as safety equipment and a first aid kit, as well as a kid who can't stop being photographed. I wasn't going to ask my friends to rifle through their bags. Fortunately, there is a Flickr account of people taking pictures of what's in their carry-ons. And there is a division between men's and women's bags and what they carry in them. This reinforces the research of Christina Nippert-Ang, who surveyed a large group about their privacy habits and the contents of their bags and wallets. She found that there is a difference in the public and private bag. While women keep many of these things in a single place, their bag, men have a public bag and a private wallet. I'm in that category. There is an echo in live, work, play. There is a separation between the public and the private. But what goes in this private area and what goes in this something else? Let's look at the work and see if we can find it there. My manager is a jerk, and our tasks are big and small. We're very good at the big ones. I can go with the kids and linger where we're interested to really interesting places. Two problems though. We do hit a physical limit. My stride is simply longer than the kids. The second, let's call it Keen's theory of directional indeterminacy. Kids have no straight lines. So in a recent walk in Seattle Center, my Fitbit went to 5,000 steps. I put one on the 5-year-old and hers hit 7,000 steps. This is a quarter-mile walk circle, a standard measure of walkability. It should take about 2,000 steps to cross this. With 5,000 and 7,000 steps, we took many, many more. Lingering is fine, but when you look at the closest places to buy urgent things like a pack of diapers or an emergency birthday present, you see the walk circle doesn't quite work the same way with kids. And that's the big events. The day-to-day is a bit more routine. Start with picking up things that will injure me, make breakfast, make extra for some event, do laundry, get to extracurriculars, help with the extracurriculars, get to more extracurriculars, find way for extracurriculars to kill me, inspire, transport, feed, clean up, and pick things up that'll injure me. It can be a surprise that a dad does these things. I have lunch with female friends, and people just assume that she is in charge of the kids. And that's because women do bear most of the unpaid tasks. The United States is not the worst at this discrepancy, but the average woman spends double the hours on caring for family members and 60% more time on housework. This is supported by other numbers. Meet my coworkers. There are 10 million stay-at-home moms and 2 million stay-at-home dads. But let's expand this to professionals. If you add daycare workers and elementary teachers, the number of women rises to 14 million, and the number of men goes up to 2.5 million. Classically called a pink-collar job, makes it very important that I am hyper-aware that I'm the only guy in the room. Now, I debated this slide. At best, it's a child abuse joke. But because it's an easy visual that you instantly understand, you also understand why men have to take care in these situations. As the lone dad in the room, I try to be attentive and give others agency. I make it clear that I'm bringing the kids, and I offer to meet at third-party locations if that's more comfortable. I do not presume that my attendance is appropriate. That makes walkability very important. Back to our neighborhood of Ballard, if you put a 1/4 mile and a 1/2 mile walk circle around the elementary school and the community center, you'll see that the smaller circle is the 2,000 steps that took us 5,000 or 7,000 steps to make. Anything that's not in this circle is not part of our playtime. Am I going to ask a woman and her kids to get in my van? No. This walk circle is also my social circle. And speaking of social circles, I tend to have more in common with the moms than with the dads. My schedule is very different than folks who work a 9-to-5 desk job, so play for me is often solitary recreation. I go to lots of movies, and I grab lots of beers, and I grab beers at movies. I also go on hikes, but not that often, even though the pictures will live forever on Facebook. And sometimes I play frighteningly prescient games. There is some social connection missing. Seattle has a wonderful program called PEPS, the Program for Early Parenting Support. As they put it in their advice to dads, community connection is vital to parents. And that's what fills in this area that cuts across live, work, and play. While the things here make a place nice, the stuff down at the bottom level make live, work, and play possible. But what is in this gap? Nippert Eng describes this space as withholding, and says it happens due to our fragmentary knowledge of each other. In interviews with dads, PEPS heard the difficulty was the source of the connection. It's easy for expectant mothers to connect, while no one makes the mistake that I'm pregnant. So it makes it seem there's a caped wall of silence between the physical live, work, play place and this pool of knowledge. Or the classic "you're doing it wrong" of maternal gatekeeping. But that's not the experience that I've had. I was out of town for this presentation, and a network of fantastic friends, all women, stepped up to help take the kids from school, amuse them, and exhaust them. The parents are not keeping you from this resource. The people are the resource. People want to connect with others, but they need to be comfortable, and we can make places for that to happen. Look at Ballard again. Zoning pushes away a lot from the school and community center. Some communities specifically state that liquor sales, even the most basic beer at a restaurant, must be 1,500 feet from a school or playground. This creates an unwalkable dead zone around places people want to meet, and as we saw, distance can be social death. Recently, there's been a slew of awful and bigoted bathroom bills. They are scapegoating a group of people, the transgender community, when the truth is very simple. All bathrooms are awful. They are dirty and uninviting. Instead of bashing the transgendered, let's focus on better design, cleanliness, and accommodating families of all shapes. We do try to make places that invite meeting and conversation. Unfortunately, the execution tends to be wanting. This group of benches is like a cul-de-sac that traps people and separates from the kids. I took this picture and then turned 180 degrees to see this. Very similar to my workbench, it allows people to see and preside over the playground without being trapped. They get to engage and disengage from conversation casually. It's these little changes that will make the wall dissolve, and we can see that safe and accessible places make the connection between what we build and the resources that make these places function. These little improvements make it so that women can wear the suit and men can wear the cape.